The film opens with God, portrayed as a grumpy middle-aged man living in the city of Brussels. Since the beginning of time, he has been bored, and to cure his boredom, he created the world. He tried to fill the empty spaces with strange creatures, but was never satisfied because they were too different from himself. Eventually, he came up with the idea of creating the first man, Adam, in his own image, and was very pleased with the result. Adam wandered aimlessly through the city, unsure of his purpose, until he met a woman named Eve. They fell in love immediately and tried to be intimate, though it was awkward at first. Eventually, they succeeded, and from their union, many children were born, populating the entire world. God lives together with his daughter, Ea, and his wife, who is quiet and submissive. Unlike his children, who are capable of miracles, God himself has no special powers. He expresses his frustration by retreating to his computer room, where he creates disasters and imposes absurd rules to ensure that humanity suffers for his amusement. One day, Ea notices that the door to her father's room is open and enters out of curiosity. She discovers endless cabinets filled with information about events happening in the world, and in the center of the room, she finds a computer. Horrified by the disasters her father is causing, Ea confronts him, calling him disgusting and claiming that anyone could do better. Enraged, God punishes her harshly. After enduring the punishment, Ea vows to take revenge. She seeks advice from her brother Jesus Christ, JC, who tells her she must leave and find 6 apostles among humanity to write a brand new testament. JC explains that she can escape through the washing machine. Before leaving, Ea steals the keys to her father's room, selects 6 random people from the files, and sends every human their exact death date. Billions of people receive the shocking messages, some just moments before their deaths, and the revelation injects a sense of impending doom into their lives. Ea then plants a virus in her father's computer and escapes through the washing machine. She enters a long tunnel, climbing toward the human world, determined to begin her own story and create a new testament. After realizing their time of death, many people stop their normal routines and begin doing what they truly love, while others desperately try to save their own lives but fail miserably. Very soon, God becomes aware of what is happening as he watches the chaos on the news. He realizes that his keys have been stolen and rushes toward his computer room. He tries to fix the situation, but nothing responds because the computer is locked out. Like a bloodhound, he picks up the scent of his daughter on the mouse. He immediately runs to the laundry room and tries to crawl inside the washer like an animal chasing its prey, but struggles to fit his belly through the tunnel. Meanwhile, he has already made it outside into the human world. Hungry, she searches for food in a garbage bin, which makes her sick, but she catches the attention of a homeless man named Victor. Ea convinces him to help her write her new book. The old man carries her on his back, and Ea finally feels safe, protected by a father figure she never had. They eventually reach the city where A's first apostle is found. The person turns out to be a beautiful woman named Aurélie. Despite her nearly perfect appearance, Aurélie has been unhappy for a long time. The men in her building constantly pursue her for private encounters, while the women glare at her with contempt, blaming her for their own miseries. What they don't realize is that Aurélie is also a tragic victim. She lost her arm in an accident as a child and has lived ever since with a prosthetic. Ea meets her in a subway station and asks why she continues living despite her unhappiness. Aurélie replies that life is like a skating rink, where people fall so they can learn to get back up. She cries, thinking about how little time she has left, and Ea collects her tears in a small container, promising to show her a miracle soon. Later that night, Aurélie has a vision. As she walks into the kitchen, she sees her lost hand on the table, moving gracefully as if skating. Overwhelmed, she embraces herself and finally accepts who she is. The next day, Ea goes to her second apostle. She quickly discovers that the man is no longer at home. His name is Jean-Claude, and he has been sleeping in the park for a long time. When he was young, Jean-Claude dreamed of being a fearless adventurer, but he abandoned his dreams and shrank his life into something small. He worked for companies, climbed the corporate ladder, and eventually became a manager, trading all his time for money. Before he realized it, he had grown old, without family or loved ones to accompany him. One day, while walking in the park, Jean-Claude receives a message and realizes he has less than a year to live. Furious, he throws away his briefcase and decides never again to trade his life for money. From that moment, he spends his days sitting in the park, enjoying simple things like feeding the birds. E eventually finds the old man and asks why he has chosen to remain in the same place for so long. Jean-Claude realizes he has never considered the question. He wonders why the birds repeat the same routine when they could simply fly away. One bird answers by spreading its wings and soaring into the sky. Intrigued, Jean-Claude follows, finally beginning the adventure he once dreamed of. Meanwhile, God has also entered the human world, but quickly discovers that nothing goes according to his plans. He becomes a victim of the very rules he created. Misfortune follows him everywhere. Local gangsters beat him for eating from a garbage bin, and after being treated at the hospital, he shoves the doctor instead of thanking him. Still believing himself almighty, he tries to steal food from a child, only to be punished by the mother with a spanking. On the other side, Ia meets her third apostle, a man named Mark. As a boy, Mark had a profound experience while playing on the beach. He saw a beautiful girl in the distance and was mesmerized, but her look of disdain scarred him deeply. Ever since, he has been obsessed with women, unable to see them in a healthy way. After learning he has only 83 days left to live, Mark spends all his money in red light districts, paying strangers for intimacy that leaves him empty. When EA asks if he has found true happiness, he admits something important is still missing. EA encourages him to use his powerful voice for something more meaningful. Mark begins voice acting and meets a woman who shares many of his interests. During their conversation, he realizes she is the same girl he saw long ago on the beach. They are immediately drawn to each other. Later that night, Mark takes her to his room, but for the first time, he does not rush into anything. Instead, he experiences genuine love. Meanwhile, God ironically wanders into a church, seeking shelter among the very people who worship him. He tries to get food from the volunteers, but cuts straight to the front of the line, which earns him another beating. A priest attempts to save him with kindness, but God cruelly reveals that he has been the source of the man's misery since birth. Mocking the priest's misfortune, God laughs, provoking even the holy man to strike him, while the statue of Jesus seems to smile at the scene. Elsewhere, Ia arrives at her fourth apostle, Francois. After learning how much time he has left to live, Francois decides to start killing random people, believing he was destined to be a killer. With death dates revealed to all, he convinces himself that he is simply acting as the hand of God. E approaches him and gives him a bullet, telling him to aim at a passing woman, who turns out to be Aurélie. Francois fires, but the bullet strikes her prosthetic arm instead. Amazed, he interprets this as a miracle and begins following her, eventually entering her apartment building. Though clearly in love, Francois struggles to accept his feelings. He smashes a mirror in frustration, unwilling to admit he is no longer a killer. Ultimately, he confesses his love to Aurélie, bringing her flowers and pouring out his emotions in the elevator. Shocked by his honesty, Aurélie accepts the flowers but leaves immediately. Still, Francois feels liberated, finally able to accept himself for who he truly is. Soon after, E finds her fifth apostle, a middle-aged woman named Martine. Discovering that her husband will outlive her by more than 30 years, Martine tries to fill her emptiness with material possessions, even hiring a young man as a temporary lover. Yet nothing brings her happiness, as her marriage has long been loveless. Ia sees her sadness and advises her to visit the circus, promising she will find true love there. At the carnival, Martine encounters a giant gorilla and instantly senses its affection. She embraces the animal, finally experiencing genuine care and companionship. Meanwhile, Aurélie discovers the phone number on the flowers Francois gave her and decides to call him. She invites him over, and together they share an intimate, tender moment. Aurélie removes her prosthetic arm, and the two lie down side by side, finally accepting each other for who they truly are. Sometime later, while searching for the final apostle, Ia encounters her father on the streets. She immediately runs away with her friend, and together they walk across the river on water. When God tries to follow, he falls in clumsily, flailing like a drowning chicken. Taken back into the church, even the priest no longer wants to deal with him. He eventually finds her last apostle, a young boy named Willie. His parents, paranoid about illness, constantly give him unnecessary medications. Ironically, these treatments cause him to lose his pancreas, leaving him with only 54 days to live. Wanting to make him happy before his death, his parents agree to fulfill his wishes, but are shocked when Willie asks to live as a girl. They allow him to wear his favorite dress to school, and though classmates stare, Willie feels joy at finally being himself. Ia congratulates him for his courage and promises to show him a miracle. Later that night, Willie remembers the fish he ate earlier and hears a song from the kitchen. The fish has revived as a glowing spirit. Willie tells Ia he wishes to return the creature to the ocean before he dies. The apostles hear his desire and decide to help. On Monday, Willie sells his parents' furniture to fund the journey. On Tuesday, Francois tells Aurélie he no longer wants to kill. On Wednesday, Martine's husband discovers her love for the gorilla and tries to expel them, but the animal chases him away. On Thursday, Mark and his girlfriend make love for the first time, while Ia's mother begins cleaning the house after freeing herself from her husband. On Friday, Ia spends all her time with Willie. On Saturday, Jean-Claude continues following the birds toward the Arctic, finally finding his purpose. Meanwhile, God is arrested by police and deported for lacking a passport. On Sunday, the apostles gather at the seaside with thousands of people, preparing to face their final moments. Willie returns the fish spirit to the ocean. Suddenly, an airplane carrying God descends toward the crowd, and panic spreads. God himself cries in terror. At the same time, Ia's mother cleans her husband's room. She unplugs the computer to use her vacuum, then plugs it back in, unknowingly reprogramming the machine. The reboot miraculously saves the airplane, which narrowly avoids disaster. All death dates are erased, restoring free will to humanity. The world transforms as impossible wonders fill the sky, and human fantasies become reality. On the other side, God is forced into manual labor, desperately searching for the washer that could return him home. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss the next epic story. See you in the next video.